Hello everyone, welcome back to Turkish series stars. If you live for raw celebrity moments and the true emotions behind the glossy lights, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and consider joining to support the channel. Today we're diving into the day that turned everything upside down for Cemre and Gökberk Yildirim, a day that didn't start like any ordinary morning in show business. There were no polished photos to wake up to, no cheerful captions, no playful stories. The timeline was unusually quiet. And then the silence broke, not with laughter, but with sirens. Clips began ricocheting across social platforms, flashing lights, a surge of security, faces drained of color. Within minutes, the news was everywhere. Cemre, one of the most loved actresses of her generation, had been rushed to the hospital. Images taken outside the emergency entrance stunned even those who don't usually follow celebrity drama. Cemre, always composed even in chaos, could barely keep her balance. Two nurses held her steady by the arms. Her face was milky pale. Her breath was shallow, and one hand pressed instinctively to her abdomen, a protective gesture that reminded everyone watching just how delicate her pregnancy is. People who were standing nearby fell silent. It wasn't the awkward hush of fans hesitating to take a picture. It was the heavy stillness of fear. And then came the second shock, the one nobody saw coming. Only minutes after the ambulance doors closed behind Cemre, Gökberk Yildirim appeared outside. He had been quiet for months. The star who disappeared when the woman he loved needed him most, that was the story the public told, and he had never corrected it. Now he stood before cameras, not with the calm swagger that usually follows him, but with a look that startled even the press. Eyes swollen with exhaustion, jaw clenched, shoulders pulled forward as if the weight of the last year had finally settled on him. When he spoke, his voice didn't carry the authority we're used to. It trembled. "I can't stay silent. Not after today," he began, pausing long enough for microphones to edge closer. "I have to tell the truth." Reporters froze. This wasn't a rehearsed statement from a publicist. It didn't feel like damage control. It felt human, risky, and unscripted. Gawkberg looked directly at the lenses and confessed that the rift between him and Cemre began with him. He admitted to choices that broke their bond, not in one dramatic explosion, but in 1,000 small fractures created by fear and mistrust. He said that when uncertainty crept in, he let it take the wheel. He let suspicion speak louder than love. He let pride turn sincere conversations into arguments. And then, when the pressure grew unbearable, he pulled back instead of leaning in. The line that sent shockwaves through the crowd was simple and devastating: "I failed, and she paid the price." He admitted that he walked away when she needed a steady hand. He withdrew emotionally in the most vulnerable chapter of her life, leaving Cemre to navigate appointments, whispers, and sleepless nights alone. He didn't sugarcoat the truth. He didn't offer elaborate explanations. He just owned it. Moments later, the hospital issued a brief update that confirmed what many feared. Cemre had been admitted due to severe stress-related complications. It was measured, clinical language, but everyone knew what it meant. The worry, the pressure, the headlines, and the personal battles had become too much for a pregnant woman already carrying the weight of a public breakup on her back. Then came the question that stopped Gökberk in his tracks. A journalist asked about Cemre's earlier comment. A tense, much-discussed line from an interview where she'd said she would do whatever it takes for her baby. It had sparked talk all over the internet. Would she raise the child without him? Would there be another father figure? Would she close the door entirely? Gökberk inhaled, eyes lowered, and gave the bravest answer of the day. "If she felt she had to choose someone else to be a father to that child," he said slowly, "it's because I failed to be one." She did what she believed was necessary to protect her baby. No blame. No defensiveness. Just responsibility. And then, the confession that turned even his harshest critics quiet. "I still love her," he said, voice cracking on the last word. "I always have." But love means nothing if you don't know how to take care of it. He choked up, the cameras captured tears sliding down a face that so often looks unshakable. For the first time, the public saw him without the glow of studio lights or the armor of a character. The clip spread across feeds in minutes. It felt like the whole world watched a famous man learn humility in real time. Inside the hospital, the mood grew more fragile by the minute. People moved quietly. The team close to Cemre confirmed the one boundary she needed right now: she didn't want to see him. Not now. "I don't want him here," was relayed softly to those outside. Her doctors agreed. Anything that might spike her stress could put both her and the baby at risk. The message was clear: step back. Then a brief, shaky video slipped online, recorded by someone who should not have been filming at all. It lasted less than 30 seconds, but it changed the entire conversation. In it, you see a television screen in the corner of a dim room. Gawkberg is on the broadcast, saying the words, "I still love her." The camera tilts, then focuses on Cemre. At first she holds it in, jaw tight, eyes fixed forward. The kind of stoicism she's practiced in so many interviews, wearing a poise that protects her from people picking apart every blink. But when that sentence reaches her, her face crumples, slowly, as if something inside finally unlocks. Tears rise, not theatrical, not loud. Real. She turns her head away from the screen and cries in silence. The internet, so quick to choose villains, went quiet. People who had been ready with 1,000 hot takes paused. There wasn't a hero and a monster anymore. There were just two people with a history, caught in a storm of emotion, choices, and public scrutiny, each of them hurting in a way that fame can't cushion. Cemre's condition is now stable. The official word is that she needs rest, minimal stress, and time for her body, time for her mind, time for her heart. Her team has asked for privacy, a request that fans have mostly honored. Meanwhile, Gökberk has kept his distance from the hospital out of respect for her wishes. No grand gestures at the entrance, no flowers sent with oversized ribbons, no attempts to force a reunion under cameras. Just absence, this time the kind born from respect instead of avoidance. Industry insiders say this tension didn't erupt out of nowhere. For months, both of them navigated brutal schedules, long shoots, travel, brand obligations, and the feedback loop of public opinion. They had been the couple everyone pointed to as proof that on-screen chemistry can ignite a real relationship. He had the classic calm that made people feel safe around him. She had the kind of focus that turns ambition into reality. Together, they looked invincible in photographs. But life beyond the frame is never that simple. Those who worked near them described a relationship that swung between tenderness and distance, with unspoken fears growing louder when the cameras were off. And when pregnancy entered the picture, those fears exploded under the pressure of being watched. Still, there were glimpses of softness no rumor could ignore. A hand placed on a lower back during a crowded event. A quiet smile traded in a parking garage after midnight. The simple fact that they kept their most intimate news to themselves for so long speaks to the hope they had that they could protect something fragile until it was ready to be shared. That hope, too, was rattled by missteps and pride. What happened today drew a line none of them can cross back over. Gökberk showed the world a version of himself that he had avoided showing to her when it mattered most. Maybe that's the cruel irony. The honesty that could have steadied them came after the sirens, after the monitors, after the tears. As evening fell, the lights outside the hospital dimmed. The crowd thinned. The rapid-fire posts slowed to a quieter cadence. In that hush, the big questions rose to the surface, the ones without easy answers. Does a public confession heal what was broken in private? Is accountability enough to rebuild trust, or does it arrive too late? Can a heart that's been asked to be strong forgive the absence that made it shake? Can love return to the room after pride has airbrushed it out? People close to Cemre say she is listening, not to the internet, not to the trending videos, but to herself. To the rhythm of her own breath. To the steady beep of a machine that promises calm. To the hope that her body will do what bodies are meant to do when given quiet and care. They say she has not decided anything. Not about statements. Not about a future. Not about second chances. Just about today, and the need to be still. People close to Gawkberg say that for once, he is not making plans. The man who usually organizes everything down to the minute has surrendered to patience. He is not racing to prove himself. He is not rehearsing big speeches. He is waiting in the only way you can when love is no longer yours to direct. You show up by stepping back, you speak by staying silent, you hope without expecting. There's a moment from the video that stayed with many, not the tears, not even the line that went viral. It's a tiny gesture that most would miss. Right after he says, "I still love her," Gawkberg presses a hand to his chest, almost absently, as if to steady something inside. Something about that felt painfully human. It hinted at a truth he might not yet know how to articulate, that love isn't a performance you deliver for applause, but a responsibility you shoulder even when no one is clapping. Will Cemre forgive him? Will he keep trying in a way that doesn't drain her? Will they ever be the couple whose photographs made the world sigh? Or has this chapter finally reached its last page? These are questions only time, and the two of them, can answer. For now, there is only the image of a woman fighting to protect the life growing within her, and a man learning that protecting her means accepting he may not be the one beside her while she does it. If this story made you feel something, if you paused, if you breathed a little slower, if you remembered that the people on your screen are just people. Like this video, subscribe, and consider joining Turkish series stars to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and until our next update, take gentle care of your heart.